We all know about global warming. Unfortunately, it is true, and in fact is taking place much faster than the nice people at the IPCC have been predicting. This wouldn't be so bad if we were reducing the production of CO2, but the real bad news is we are actually increasing the levels of CO2 and releasing 30 billion tons of carbon into the atmosphere annually. This means we are already reaching certain tipping points, and like falling off a cliff, once you pass a tipping point, it is very hard to roll the camera backward and return to where you were. We are destroying 30,000 species a year, and that is without even considering endangered plants. By midway through this century, less than 40 years, regions of the Earth will become so hot that people will begin dying, and these will not just be the poor countries around the equator. Even parts of Europe may experience terrible heat waves that will kill millions. Remember, in Europe in 2003, 40,000 people died as a result of heat waves. If we go past 2 degrees increase in global temperatures, we are in real trouble, and at the moment we are already at the 1 degree mark. We actually need to stop producing carbon dioxide right now, this instant, but we have built our civilizations upon the consumption of oil and coal, and that, plus corporate greed, sees us rushing headlong toward an inevitable future where our planet will definitely overheat. This will mean that nations in places too hot to live will start to migrate north and southward. The movement of billions of people will result in confrontations over borders, and wars will probably break out, and the use of nuclear weapons, previously considered unthinkable, will most likely occur. People will fight over what little land is left, and millions will die in conflict or through starvation. Governments are either too weak or too slow to act, so what can citizens who can see this problem coming do to avoid such a terrible future for themselves and for their children? One promising answer is agrichar. What is agrichar? Basically, agrichar is charcoal. The ancient Peruvians put it in their soil, and they found it was far more fertile because of it. And the beauty of agrichar is that it does not break down but stays in the soil for thousands of years. If we could put enough agrichar into the ground, then we would eventually be able to slow down CO2 release into the atmosphere and also reverse it. And one of the benefits of doing this is that we can also feed the estimated 1 billion people in the world who are currently starving. So far, the only people carbon trading are big companies that produce a great deal of carbon dioxide in their manufacturing processes. But what if we made it possible for everyone to become a carbon trader? Then trading carbon would be like making your own money. So how can we do it? It is actually quite easy. We start in your own backyard, and it really doesn't matter how small your backyard is. A group of people form a cooperative, and this is called the CTC, Carbon Trading Cooperative. Working with urban farmers, the cooperative organizes agreements whereby a farmer can raise crops in your backyard. These are crops grown with the agrichar buried into the soil to ensure carbon is being returned to the earth and that the soil always remains fertile. The beauty of this is that you don't have to do anything. But when the crop comes in, you get 20% of the harvest free. And not just the food grown on your land, you can have your choice of any of the food grown in any of the urban farms. But the cooperative does much more than that. It also runs LETS, Local Exchange Trading System. And LETS allows you to trade almost anything you like. Let's say, for instance, you need your kitchen sink fixed. You just call up the co-op and get a plumber to fix your sink. This means you have a negative agrichar carbon trade against your name, minus 200, while the plumber has a positive agrichar carbon trade against his name, plus 200. You can pay back your debt easily by working for a farmer on an urban farm, even your own, or supplying someone else with specialist services that you can provide. The plumber, on the other hand, can take his payment in the form of food or other services that someone else provides. All in all, this means that a huge amount of good organic food is going to be grown, and carbon is going to be put back into the ground in large quantities. It means that millions of unemployed or retired people can find work and become useful members of society. If you do not become an individual carbon trader, you might just find yourself strongly disadvantaged. So, let's make a TV show. Segment 1 is called The Deal. This is where an agreement is made between the householder and the urban farmer, and the urban farmer and a carbon credit buyer. A team of people organized by the local cooperative moves in and prepares the backyard growing beds ready for the farmer. This is where the agrichar is added to the soil. Segment 2 is all about the science. It is about the science of global warming, or agrichar and carbon sequestration, of new growing techniques, or any new form of green technology that is relevant to stop the advance of global warming. Segment 3 deals with the results and shows the result of previous shows where crops are now being harvested and sold at farmers' markets. Later in the series, this segment is taken to rural farmers and depicts the introduction of agrichar sequestration into mainstream farming on a mega scale. Segment 4 is The Future, depicting householders not only receiving good organic food, but receiving services and energy that they do not have to buy, but simply trade for example, having their house painted. It also shows how they are being socially engaged in their local area as a result of Let's interactions, for example, attending a folk dance or repaying a debt by working as a family on an urban farm. One of the beauties of this idea is that the TV show can be online to begin with, and then graduate to a broadcast or cable production. Because the TV production company creates the carbon trading cooperative, it also creates a recording of its own evolution, and this in itself is a human interest story of how the system was created.